And welcome to another episode of Sports Vibe. I'm Arnav Sarkar here with Jitesh Ramakrishnan, and we've got a recap of the divisional round, all four games, and then we're going to preview the conference championships. And yeah, I mean the playoffs are getting good. Another great weekend of football. This weekend, three of the four games were one possession games, so three exciting finishes. I'm out of the four. I mean, Chiefs Bills went absolutely to the wire. That was a great game. I mean, Packers 49ers, another one that I think surprised a lot of people how close Packers were winning that one. And then even the Lions game as well, hanging in there to knock off Tampa Bay. Yeah, and then the Ravens dominating the Texans. But why don't we start with the Ravens Texans and work our way, back down to Chiefs Bills, going chronological order. Yeah, so I mean, this game, this was kind of the more lopsided one, but even this one was
I'm
close. It
no,
was
I
tied
mean
at
like
halftime.
in the first half, the Texans were really like holding their own against the Ravens, and I mean, of course, like majority of that came on the punt return touchdown, but still,
Right.
like, and of course, like CJ Stroud was didn't play well this game, but that's to be expected. Like he was going against I mean, then again, no one expected him to absolutely ball out against Cleveland, but like the thing is, it's like the Ravens had a ferocious pass attack. They had great secondary coverage. The linebackers were dispersing everywhere. So, and of course, let's not forget the Texans were also down like some of their best weapons, like Noah Brown. Like he's a sneaky good option for the Texans, and they didn't really and like outside of an occasional Devin Singletary, the Texans don't really have a running game. So C.J. Stroud was kind of the primary target of everything, regardless. But you know, I don't put like this is nothing for the Texans to feel bad about or anything. Like after after the god awful mess that they've been enduring for the past 3-4 years, it's about time the Texans were returned to the position they were in. Well, about 5 years ago when they had a promising young QB, good offensive weapons, a competent head coach, only for that competent head coach to turn into a potato head and completely dismantle the team. So I don't think D'Amico Ryans is going to be doing that. I don't think he has any plans on doing that. So it's it's all up from here for the Texans.
Yeah. No, I agree with that for sure. I mean, even just making the division around, that was a huge step for them. 1 year after drafting CJ
No,
Stroud,
I'm
a
well.
little bit later,
Forget making the divisional round for them
making
to
the
win
playoff.
seven. For them to win like 6 games, and
Right?
especially remember last year the way the season ended, where Lovie Smith went for two against the Colts and the Texans got the win. Everyone thought the
Yeah.
Texans screwed up the draft
Yeah.
by being at the number two overall pick, but C.J. Stroud walked into the best possible situation he could. I mean, now if we were to swap places, would see and of course, like speaking of CJ Stroud, like it's reported that Carolina's management wanted to draft CJ Stroud at one, but Tepper overruled for Bryce Young. I mean, to be
Of
honest,
course.
I don't know if CJ Stroud would have succeeded in the Panther system in his first year. I mean, like, but let's be fair to Bryce. He outside of Adam Thielen, he barely has anyone to throw to. Especially since the Panthers felt like trading away DJ Moore. Um, so like and likewise, like Bryce Young doesn't really have a running game to deal with. So um, would CJ Stroud have succeeded with the Panthers? Honestly, I don't know. Had would Bryce Young have succeeded with the Texans? I mean, in his first year, I don't know. That's the beauty of this thing. But we can at least say the Texans are in a far better situation than the Panthers. It's not even close.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No doubt. I mean, one team doesn't really even have kind of really a path forward this year without their draft pick. And despite finishing with the league's worst overall record, there's turnover all over the place in terms of new management, new coaching, and just no weapons, just offensive line's
And
bad. I
and
mean, everything
and also this
on
is
that team is not going great.
and also this will be David. This will be the third coach under David Tepper. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, for a team to like develop and foster some chemistry and all these things, like you know kind of has to be some consistency here. I mean, I understand that Frank Reich going 1-10 in his first season. not exactly a great look. But again, it's the first year of a coach, and the first year of your first overall pick as a quarterback, who's supposed to be the keys to your new Lamborghini. I'd at least be inclined to let them finish out the season. If they finished out strong, like they won 6-11, I'd be tempted to keep Frank Reich around. But you know what? We're getting off topic. Let's get back
Right.
to the Texans.
Yeah. On the other hand, yeah, Texans, they're definitely like on the right track. I mean, they're way overachieved anything I think anyone could have
And
expected.
let's not forget, the
Yeah.
Texans own Cleveland's first round pick this year
Sure. From
from
the
the Deshaun
Watson.
Watson trade.
Yeah. And then I guess going over to the Ravens side of things. I mean,
Wait.
you know,
I would say, like, judging based on this game, the Texans. I mean, the Texans could invest their draft pick. I'd I'd go with the linebacker
linebacker. Yeah, I feel like that's something they could use because they have like
or,
I feel the
or
offense is
like
very
or
very good.
Devin White is hitting free agency. Make a move.
Yeah, something to
But
bolster kind of
I
that
doubt Tampa Bay will
defense.
let him walk,
Yeah, probably not. No.
along with Mike Evans, who's also kind
Oh
of
no,
important. And
definitely
we'll
not.
talk about those two later.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I guess over to the on the Ravens side of things, teams moving on. They look really good. I mean, Lamar Jackson had
The
two
first half
two
the
rushing, two
Raven
passing
yeah,
touchdowns.
I mean the first half the Ravens looked fairly sluggish on offense.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
would say though, I was not expecting Nelson Aguilar to get a touchdown. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, that was quite surprising in my opinion too. But he did. So I mean, but
But
yeah, I mean,
Isaiah
yeah,
you could argue
Isaiah
Isaiah
likely.
Likely is the MVP of the game. You could argue that.
I would, yeah, he definitely had a big performance. Yeah, I mean the run game was like pretty solid. Lamar Jackson actually rushed for 100 yards and led the team in rushing, two touchdowns on the ground. He kind of broke away for a long one, if I remember correctly, too. And then two passing touchdowns, 16 for 22 and 52. So he managed the game pretty well. He absolutely dominated it on the ground as well. And then Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, even Dalvin Cook got involved a little bit, and then
Yeah,
receiving
but
game.
Dalvin Cook didn't really do a whole
He didn't
lot.
really do much. It was mostly Edwards and
Honestly, I
Hill.
mean,
Yeah.
I could be surprised by the game plan on Saturday, but
They could use him more.
I don't anticipate Dalvin Cook getting a big workload on Saturday
No,
against the Chiefs.
probably
I
not.
suspect
Yeah,
I suspect most of the running, if it's not done by Lamar Jackson, most of the short runs will be done by Gus Edwards,
yeah.
and mostly used in the passing attack would probably be going towards Justice Hill.
This is how. Yeah, makes sense. And then
If only they
receiving.
had Keaton Mitchell. If only.
Oh man, yeah, I know that sucks. But I feel like Hill and Edwards have really kind of stepped up. But yeah, that's true. And then Lamar Jackson, but yeah, Keaton Mitchell, receiving game robust. They kind of, excuse me, distributed those receptions. But yeah, Isaiah Likely had a great performance, a touchdown. Nelson Aguilar touchdown. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. A little bit of OBJ, not too much, but yeah. And then the second half, they pretty much shut out Houston as well. While the Ravens dominated. That game was pretty much over in the second half. But yeah, this team looks ready. They look like they're head and shoulders above pretty much any team in the NFL maybe. But that'll be put to the test next week, I guess, when they see Kansas City. But yeah, I mean it was a dominant win the divisional. So yeah, I mean unless you want to say anything else, I guess we can go on to Packers 49ers.
Let's move on.
Okay. So this game, this one was like a surprising one. I mean, like the way the Packers them getting to well the first half was kind of a little bit sluggish on both sides, but I mean the Packers, the defense was good, the offense kind of a
I
little
mean,
bit sluggish. They
I'll
really
tell
held
you
San
what.
Francisco
I'll tell you
in
why
check
San
pretty much
Francisco was
almost the whole
sluggish.
game.
San Francisco was sluggish because this is their first time playing in a long time, and then it also rained in Santa
Yeah, it
Clara,
did. It was
and
raining.
rain is a fairly rare commodity in San Francisco. So
Right, that's true. That's more of a Seattle thing, I guess, but a little bit further north. But yeah, I mean, yeah, not too rainy often in San Francisco. George Kittle had a touchdown for second quarter. Carlson had two field goals, and Yeah, and that was halftime, and it was kind of one of those ugly defensive games, and the Packers are kind of hanging in there. Special teams, I think, got in the way a little bit. Some stuff happened, but in the third quarter, I mean, Bull Melton, Rutgers alum, he scored a touchdown. That one looked nice. The offenses both really both got going, because then McCaffrey ran for a long touchdown right after that. Packers come back, strike back, have the lead, and then Jake Moody hits a field goal, and then um, and then Anders Carlson misses
Drain Greenlaw's picks.
yeah, I'm missing those.
Yeah,
Yeah. He
yeah.
had
I
two,
mean,
right?
like,
The
I
game
would
winner and
honestly,
then the other
yeah,
one.
yeah. He had two picks. Although, like, when it came to both picks, like, honestly, he should have like stopped. I mean, this is
He
what I
kept
think.
running with the
No,
football. It
no.
was like really
I kept
slow.
thinking that was a horrible decision. Because we saw what happened on the Packers punt return, or no, one of the kick returns. I think like the guy was running with the ball, and then out of nowhere from behind, he gets chased down. The ball gets stripped out, and
Yeah,
there's a fumble right there. So like that entire progress could have possibly been impeded. Like in those situations, like unless
you
if
go
you
down.
have, yeah, unless if you have like a clear path of 30 yards, like Moses parts the Red Sea, and there's literally nothing in front of you but a bare strip of land to walk towards. I think in those situations, as soon as you intercept the ball, maybe go ahead a few yards and then kneel down. That way you
Right.
don't jeopardize. That way you don't jeopardize your team, and your that way you don't jeopardize your team's chances of winning. But hey, regardless, Dre Greenlaw did not fumble those two balls, and so I pick him over McCaffrey for MVP of the game.
Yeah, I mean those two picks were, very pivotal. I mean the one
Well,
to end it, and even the other one too.
I mean, like
So yeah,
Jordan Love on his last throw was a very Brett Favre like throw, and
yeah,
that's not really a compliment. And that's who like that was a 1st and 10 when you still had two timeouts. Like, and I mean, of course, I know Aaron Jones didn't go to his check down option because he had to check the linebacker and he couldn't do that. So like I understand like the check down option was taken away, but and Love was a few yards behind the scoring line, but at least try and scramble, like get some yards. You still had a bunch of time. You still had two timeouts. It's not like the game was over right there. Like if that's a 4th down situation, sure, make that throw, even though it's a horrible thing to do, throwing across your body. But like in those moments, like I think like Love had to realize like he probably should have like ran a few yards to you know to at least get something. But hey, live and learn. And,
yeah.
I believe this was a contract you were going for Jordan Love. So expect him to, expect him to get a few nice dollars.
Oh yeah, no,
As
yeah. Oh, a solid year from Jordan Love. I mean, the Packers, I think, really gave the Niners much better of a fight than I think anyone thought they would, and not only much better of a fight. I mean, I think I thought they were going to win the game until the Niners came back. I mean,
Yeah, I
until
mean, like
at least until
Brock Purdy,
Carlson missed the
Brock,
field goal, I thought the
yeah,
Packers were in the driver's seat there. Yeah,
Brock Purdy did not play that well until it mattered.
true.
Like
Yeah, the
San
comeback
Francisco,
drive
and, and
was
let's not
important.
also, I
Yeah,
mean, of course, like Debo had to be taken out of the game because of a shoulder injury. So of
right.
course, Debo is the catalyst of the San Francisco offense. It's not McCaffrey, it's Debo. Um, so once Debo went down, like Green Bay was able to put up more pressure on McCaffrey, on Ayuk, on Jennings, all those guys, even on Kittle. So like, when Debo's out there, San Francisco is a lot more to be feared for. So of course that certainly had a huge impact on everything. But like, I wouldn't worry too bad regardless because I still think, Debo's gonna play next week against the Lions. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, I hope he does too. I mean, I think, yeah, he's definitely a very important piece there for, the 49ers. I guess the other thing besides the two Greenlaw interceptions, obviously the missed field goal at the end by Anders
By both
Carlson.
teams.
Yeah, by both Moody missed one too, and then yeah, and then at the Carlson missed one. The Niners were up 4, so that was key because they would have went up. I mean, the Packers were up 4, so that was very key. So they would have went up by a touchdown. Instead, the Niners get the ball back with pretty decent field position. They come down, score a touchdown, And then the second pick happens basically where Jordan Love kind of throws, kind of like would look like a decent football, but got
No,
picked
no,
off.
no, no, no.
Not really though.
As soon as you throw across your
Yeah.
body, it's a horrible throw. If it happens to be caught, it's a very lucky catch.
That's
No, no,
true.
that's the number one rule when you're taught as a quarterback. It doesn't matter if it's
Don't throw
Pop
across your
Warner.
body.
It doesn't matter if it's Pop Warner. If you're in the NFL, the first rule you're ever taught is do not throw across your body.
Right.
And
And
there's a
and
reason
like
for
you
that.
said. Yeah, like you said, it was first down. Like I feel like there's still time too. Like wasn't exactly desperation hour just yet. But anyway, so the Niners move on. They survive quite the scare by the Packers, who I felt like did everything in that game except for win. I think Skip Bayless actually tweeted that one out. But I mean, I agreed with that. They certainly did like a lot in that game, and they gave them all the fight they can
I'll tell
handle.
you
But
my
in the end, the Niners
I'll
went
tell
through.
you my takeaway. Yeah, I'll tell you my takeaway. It looked like the Packers didn't miss Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, this is like way better than like they've looked with Rodgers in these types of
Well,
playoff games.
when
But I mean,
it comes to losing to San Francisco in the playoffs, there is no expert like Aaron Rodgers at that. But
mhm.
Jordan Love put up quite a good fight. Like Jordan Love and company put up quite a good fight. So like, and that's who they have good receivers right now. They got Dobbs, they got Watson, and they got and then Aaron Jones is
Or
still
Aaron
there.
Jones, yeah.
Yeah,
Those guys
as a
are
running
balling
back.
out though. Like I was seeing all those catches by Dobbs and Watson and and Aaron Jones. The running game was like really good for Green Bay. Like they were getting 8 yards a
Yeah,
carry and first down.
and
Like
Green Bay has the Jets first this year. No wait. I think the conditional clause was Rodgers had to play majority of the season, and well, obviously he didn't. So I think that might be a second. Wait, you know what? Let me take a look at this real quick. Um, just give me a second. I'm going to search up the first
yeah.
round picks. Uh, where is it? Oh wait, the Jets have their first. So yeah, I think I believe then the Packers would have the Jets second this year.
Huh. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so some interesting news with the whole Aaron Rodgers trade deal. I guess we'll pivot over to the other NFC North team, who's still in the playoffs. It's Tampa
What do you mean?
Bay.
Still, you
Oh
sound
wait,
like you're
only
surprised.
no. I mean, I don't know. Now I was gonna say the only I mean the other NFC North team, but then I remember the Lions are still in the playoffs, and the
As they
Packers
should be.
aren't. Exactly, but yeah, and that was a good one. I feel like it was pretty close, and then the
I mean,
Lions
I
had a
felt like
control
here's
of
the
the
thing.
game
Like
at the end.
Ta- Tampa initially set the tone when they forced the Lions
They
to go 3
did,
out in the opening drive,
yeah.
and then of course the pick happened. The
The
Lions were able
interception
to pick
really
up as
changed. Yeah,
yeah
that really changed a lot with the
yeah
momentum
like
swing kind of
the
thing.
pick was the pick was as though the Lions were just advancing down the field at that point, and then they're able to draw first blood. But I mean, Tampa Bay still played the Lions very well. Like aside from a couple missed throws here and there, but I mean, initially what held Tampa Bay back was Mike Evans dropping the ball quite a bit. But when the time was called, Mike Evans was there for Tampa Bay. I mean, Mike Evans made a
Oh yeah.
lot of crucial catches when it was needed, especially with those touchdowns.
hmm
Um, but I was really surprised at one thing when it comes to Tampa's offense. Godwin was barely involved. I was quite surprised to see that. Like, and it's not like Detroit was running any fancy schemes on Godwin or anything. Like,
Yeah.
especially with Mike Evans dropping like every third ball. Like, it was certainly a bit surprising. But also Cade Otton, for the Bucks tight end,
Right.
he played a great game for Tampa
Oh
Bay.
yeah.
Great
Second
game.
week in a row too, because against the Eagles, like he was getting the ball like almost every down or every first down or something. Like he had
There's a
like
reason
another
for
big
it.
performance too.
Yeah, there's
Oh
a
yeah,
reason.
he
Like
was like moving the chains, just getting chunk yards on, and he even scored a touchdown as well. So I mean, certainly a great player. And some of those catches he was making, those aren't even
yeah.
like the
The
easiest
the
either.
one thing I question at the end of the game Like the one thing I questioned is because Tampa Bay still had a timeout. Of course,
Yeah, I saw this. I
Detroit
saw that.
Detroit took
Yeah.
a kneel down, and Detroit was kneeling down with 35 seconds left.
On third down
Tampa,
and goal.
you
They could
still
have
could have
forced
called a
yeah.
time. You
They could
still
have
could have
forced them
called a
into a
timeout.
field goal, yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, of course Detroit was in field goal range, and if Detroit makes the field goal
Game's
and they're
over,
up by
yeah.
11 points with 30 seconds left, yeah, you've lost the game. But hey, at least you tried something.
At least you
And
try, yeah.
and if Detroit missed, well, hey, 30 seconds, you could
Exactly.
still at least try something. So
It's kinda
I'm
like
in.
the yeah, I was thinking it's kinda like the Giants-Jets game when people thought, like, the Giants had won it, and then they missed the field goal, and, like, the Jets have enough time, like, it's kinda like that kind of a
Uh,
situation at that point,
Arnav, this is the playoffs. We're only talking about relevant teams. Well,
Right.
then again, I did spend the first 5 minutes talking about David Tepper and the Carolina Panthers.
That's
So
true. And I'm
that's
just
on you.
saying, like that's exactly why you do that in that situation because that also felt like the game was over and it wasn't. In fact, the Jets came back and won. So in this case, it's like you never know. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
could have at
uh,
least tried that. I mean, but
at least you
I
could
do
have tried
expect.
it. I agree.
Yeah,
You know,
I
you
mean,
know,
Todd Bowles is obviously still going to remain Tampa's head coach. Uh,
right?
NFC South chance for the third season in a row, and of course, playoffs for the fourth season in a row.
Hmm.
So I still expect Todd Bowles to remain there.
Oh yeah,
Of course, there are three big questions Tampa Bay needs to address. Does Baker Mayfield get the bag? Does Mike Evans get the bag? And does Devin White get the bag? Those are the three main questions. And let's
right.
not forget, Tampa Bay has a very messy cap structure right now. They're in borderline cap hell right now. I mean, obviously not as worse as the Saints were a few years ago, but like I think Baker this season definitely played himself into a good sized contract. Now, will he get Daniel Jones money? Absolutely not. At least I don't think so. And we all know Daniel Jones deserved maybe half of that contract.
Yeah, that's
So
about right.
I think something fairly reasonable. I mean, I don't know how long the deal will be for. Like if Mayfield were to get a long term contract, probably between 20 to 25 million. That's what I mean. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, and again, I'm not paid to analyze these positions, but what are they going to do with Mike Evans? I mean, he's coming off his 10th 1,000 yard season in a row. I mean, in my opinion, Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer, but he's coming off his 10th 1,000 yard season in a row. Past couple seasons, he's been hampered with injuries, but he's still there when Tampa Bay needed him. He's 30 now. He's going in as an unrestricted free agent. So what's Tampa Bay going to do with him? And of course, Devin White, the catalyst of their defense. He's an absolute beast, a monster waiting to be unleashed. He's still young. He's still hungry. He's still gnawing for fresh blood. So I fully expect between those three guys, I think the biggest priority Tampa Bay will give is to Devin White, and then like I think like the second biggest priority, I could see it going to Baker. I could. I mean, if you had to choose between Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans, if you're the Bucks management, like assuming they can keep all three, I don't know if they can or not. That's a really hard decision because on one hand, Mike Evans still looks like he can ball pretty well. Like 10 years of being a wide receiver, still looks like he's still doing pretty damn good. Like still looks like he's got a lot of gas in the tank. But how long do you want to commit to that too? Because wide receivers when they hit 30, generally not all of them turn into Randy Moss. So it's a tough decision for them. Whereas a quarterback, you've seen now for we've been able to see that old man quarterbacks can still survive. It depends on how well you adjust the offense to. So this is going to be a really hard decision for Tampa Bay to make. But I fully expect between those three guys, Devin White to be their first priority.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds about right. And then between Mayfield and Evans, yeah, that's going to be a tough one, obviously, with the quarterback. You know, Mayfield's played well. They could use another kind of franchise quarterback for sure. Mike Evans, obviously, coming off the 10,000 yard seasons, which is just incredible, and feels like you got to lock a guy like that down. But at the same time, yeah, I mean the quarterback position, like obviously that's kind of like the key. But no, another impressive year there from Tampa. I feel like in the preseason predictions, like even in the dismal NFC South, a lot of people considered that the Bucs to be the team out of it and kind of looking at a high pick, and they were the ones to not only make the playoffs but kind of win a game. So it's like the Giants from last year, I
And
guess.
almost win 2
You know what I
games.
mean? Exactly, and yeah, and we'll almost win 2 games, but probably even better than the Giants from last year, honestly, in that regard. But also they did beat the Eagles, I guess. But different season. But as for Detroit, I mean, they're headed to the NFC Championship game for the first time since 1990, so, and even before that. But I mean, they won their first playoff game in 31 years, and then they won another one. So I mean, hats off to them. They played a great game. Yeah, the Niners better be ready because I mean the Packers show that
No,
they're
all the
broken.
pressure's on San Francisco right now. Detroit is playing. Detroit has nothing to lose right now.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, and they got Zach Ertz, I guess to back up
I
Laporta.
don't
Also.
I don't expect that to be
I
anything
don't think that's
huge.
going to be a big. Yeah, I don't know. I think he's just kind of ring chasing, but he chose the wrong team, or maybe he didn't. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah. Although Sam Laporta is going through a little bit of an injury, but I think he's definitely still going to play. And then they also don't really have I don't think they really have like a backup who's that productive and at tight end either. So maybe you can split time. But I mean, yeah, the Lions offense is absolutely cooking. I mean, we saw Josh Reynolds score, Craig Reynolds, and Jameer Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, the whole variety of their weapons kind of score touchdowns. So I mean, it was a good game from
Detroit's
Goff as
offense is
well.
lethal.
Oh yeah. And then on defense, I mean, they've got Ian Hutchinson and Saloni and like all their guys. Brian Branch played
No, that's
well.
the thing. Like
Barnes with the interception.
The
Two
Lions
interceptions, and
defense,
then Gardner Johnson.
the
Yeah.
Lions defense is their weak point, especially their corners. I mean, but Noah Fonbo, I think I pronounced his name
No.
correctly. Yeah,
Yeah.
he had he played especially great in the first half.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then of course
1.5 sacks. He
but
came up from that safety spot quite a bit to make
yeah,
some big plays.
yeah. I couldn't remember for a second, but I honestly the Lions defense is kind of their weak point. So
Yeah,
and
I kind of agree. Yeah, Bucks are kind of
San
taking
Francisco
advantage
can
of it a
pick you
little bit.
apart with anyone. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, if we're talking about offense versus defense, like between San Francisco's offense versus the Lions defense, I give the edge to San Francisco's offense. But between
Right.
uh, between the Lions offense versus the San Francisco's defense, I think I might have to barely go with San Francisco on that one.
Mm.
I
So
think
then
San
if you have San
Francisco.
Francisco, yeah,
Uh,
I could
I
see
mean,
that
I'm
'cause they
not saying
also
the
have
Lions.
points.
Here's the thing. Like the Lions, they have like you could argue that they have one true star at defense, and that's Aiden Hutchinson. Whereas the 49ers, they got Nick Bosa. They have Chase Young on the other
Yeah.
side. They got Dre Greenlaw. They have some guy named Fred Warner who's also pretty good. You might have heard of him. So
Right.
the Lions have a lot more. The Lions. The 49ers have a lot more critical playmakers on the defense within the front seven. So and I mean, of course, the game right now it's all about how well you can cover the receivers on the deep routes. So Amon Ra and Jamison Williams versus the 49ers corners, and likewise Debo Samuel and George Kittle versus Detroit's corners. That's going to be very interesting to watch. But
Yeah.
all the pressure's on
Well,
San Francisco.
yeah, I agree. I mean, especially after kind of the way the Packers game went, the pressure is going to be on them to make the Super Bowl. Lions are kind of coming in,
Yeah. Are you
definitely.
mad we didn't have a Packers Lions NFC Championship game?
I am so mad. I really wanted that. When the Packers were that close to winning the game, it would have been so cool to have the Packers Lions NFC Championship in Detroit. I mean, the fans it would have been off the charts. I mean, we'd have in the divisional rivalry in the NFC Championship game. It would have been
Trust me, the
so
Detroit fans, they're going to show up in San Francisco. They're going to show up.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure they will. But I mean, yeah, but yeah, you're absolutely right. There's all the pressures on the Niners because they're the kind of the almost like the super, who I don't know if people are really. And yeah, I guess people are surprised they even made it this far, and they've had a great season, and
I'm
but they're
not
going to
like
be.
I thought the Lions were going to make the playoffs last year,
I
and
thought they made the
you know,
playoffs. Yeah, this is a little bit like
I mean, I was expecting them to
far-ish,
like,
but
I was expecting them to be like, I mean, like divisional round worthy.
yeah, I would say
Like,
divisional. But now it's like they're the against that team in San Francisco, they're going to be, significant underdogs. I think the line's like a
yeah,
touchdown. So yeah.
I think what really made the Lions turn this like flip the switch was the hosing game against the Cowboys. Like
Oh yeah,
the whole
yeah.
ineligible eligible
But if he
crap.
is under them for sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's what made the Lions turn into like a flip a new switch. So like they're just on this moment to just like destroy everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Would love for that to continue. I feel like America wants to see the Lions in the Super Bowl. Um and
Listen,
I
regardless
guess
for me, I'm rooting for the NFC. Yeah,
NFC.
regardless of who wins.
Yeah, that's fair, honestly. I don't know. I haven't really thought about. I also kind of like the Ravens because of Lamar and OBJ and Gus Edwards from Rutgers. So I don't know. I feel like Ravens Lions would be pretty cool, honestly. But
And
yeah,
let's not forget that's a matchup we saw recently where Justin Tucker had his kicker,
sure.
the 66
Yeah,
yarder
yeah, yeah,
inside the dome. And
yeah.
I think that was the game where Dan Campbell cried at the press conference, and or I might be confusing that with the Vikings game. It was either one of them, but regardless, it happened in that season, and that's where we got to see that this man truly cares about this team. So if we do get them Super Bowl 58,
Hmm.
that's gonna be. I mean, thing is like Lamar by himself, he can run over any team. It doesn't matter how stacked you are.
Oh
Lamar
yeah.
by himself is lethal, but
Mm-hmm.
Detroit's offense is also lethal. But you know what? We can speculate on this, when it comes to the time. In the
Yep.
meantime, let's cover one of my favorite failures,
Ooh,
or
man.
like the
This
Buffalo
one's
Bills, or as I call them, wide right.
Wide right 2.0.
I mean,
Yeah.
here's the thing. I didn't have any rooting interest in this game. I hate both the Chiefs and the Bills. I can't exactly say I hate them both equally, but I still hate them, both of them. So regardless of who wins, regardless of who won, I was gonna make fun of the loser. And once again, I got one of my favorite punching bags, the Buffalo Bills. So here's the thing: Buffalo played well. Like
They
I,
did. They did.
but look, there are a few things that screwed them over. They got cute with the football. You could see they got cute. I would say after the like midway into the third quarter onwards. Like they weren't having that offensive lethal overhead attacks. Like they're constantly relying on the short game, and I mean it's a good strategy because Kansas City secondary is was sneaky good this entire year, and especially when you run crossing routes and short pick patterns and all those things, Buffalo was able to pick them apart. But I mean, what really held Buffalo back, uh, I won't even say it was the defense because we've seen a fully healthy Buffalo defense try to handle the Chiefs before in the playoffs, and that was a complete disaster. Case in point, the 2022 divisional round, the offensive shootout. But even though Matt Milano, Tre'Davious White, of course, I'm probably missing one or two more Buffalo names off the top of my head. Even though they're huge losses for Buffalo, um, honestly, I don't think it would have made that much of a difference because neither team seemed to be able to stop each other on defense. Like it took for example, when Buffalo failed that fourth down punt call.
Oh
Like
my god.
we all know Kansas City was going to score, because they just magically turned on that switch. But
Yeah.
uh, the touchback by just centimeter, no, not even centimeters, probably by millimeters. The touchback happened. Buffalo got a second chance. Of course, they didn't really
Right.
do a whole lot. I mean, this game
That's
is
the
all
thing.
about
I
who.
feel like. I feel like the
Like,
Bills had their chances to win the game with the touchback,
but
recovering their own fumble. I mean, they
here's the
had
thing:
like
we saw
multiple
two.
chances to win. They still
Here's the thing:
lost.
it was very obvious in this game. We saw two different strategies. The Chiefs were trying to score fast. The Bills were trying to score and bleed the clock down, bleed the
Yeah,
clock
yeah,
dry.
I noticed that too.
That was
Yeah,
incredibly obvious to me from the first quarter. I wouldn't say from the first snap of the game, because even then Buffalo nearly butchered the first snap of the game. Like, you saw that they fumbled it, but
oh yeah, mhm.
excuse me, but um, Buffalo was trying to score but bleed the clock. Kansas City
Yep,
was playing. Kansas City was almost like the Mike D'Antoni 7 seconds or less Phoenix Suns offense. That's essentially what they were, just trying to
yep.
score, just trying to score as fast as they can, and ultimately, Buffalo's, yeah, that's the right word. Ultimately, Buffalo's passiveness, that's what killed them. It wasn't Tyler Bass going. It wasn't Tyler Bass imitating Scott Norwood. It was not that. I mean, he's going to get a lot
Mahomes
of the
had
blame.
time. Yeah,
No,
Mahomes
he's
had.
going to get
They
a
still had time to come
yeah,
kick another score.
yeah. Tyler Bass is going to get a lot of the blame, and he probably should. But it was
Right.
not. But I don't put the square of the blame on Tyler Bass. But there was one question I have on that drive. Like, why were they throwing it into the end zone on the first and second downs? Like, on
I
on their
know.
last drive. Like, run the damn ball, run it. I mean,
It was
James.
working for them.
No,
Yeah.
no, no. The running wasn't working. The short passes or the checkdowns to James Cook would have worked. Like, because neither team is. I mean, no, Pacheco was able to run all over the Bills, but the Bills couldn't really generate any true run game off the Chiefs. And, well, because the Chiefs were stacking like 6 or 7 across the line, like majority of the game. So, like, um, you know, but still, like, you can take away those yards. Like, a second and 6 is far more manageable than a second and 9, especially in the red zone. And what the hell happened to Stephon Diggs? Suddenly, he just couldn't catch a damn football.
I know, man. That deep shot from Allen, like to Diggs, that would have
And
been so perfect.
it just
Hit
went
him in
right
his
through the
hands, like,
basket. It just went right through the basket.
oh my god. So yeah, I mean, you had that,
But
and then you had all the things that went wrong
oh,
for the
now
Bills,
I
and then the missed
remember.
field
Yeah,
goal.
now I remember who Buffalo was missing. But this was on offense. They were missing Gabe Davis.
Yeah,
That
they're
was
missing
big.
big play. Gabe Davis. Yeah, he was.
That was
Yeah,
big.
I still remember that performance in the divisional a few years ago.
Yeah,
In the shootout, they could have definitely used Gabe Davis for
yeah.
sure. He would
Now the
have
question
could
is,
have come down with some of those
yeah.
for sure.
Now the question is, where does Buffalo go from here? Because the Super Bowl window, is it closed? Is it? I mean, it's definitely
I don't know.
closing. It's definitely closing if it isn't already
Yeah.
closed.
I don't know.
So,
It's hard to say. This is like the best they first of all, it's like they barely even got here, like they needed like a lot to get back to that point. But they played really well. I think this is the closest they played the Chiefs in a playoff game, and they really had a lot of chances to win. So I don't know
I
if
mean,
you
like
run it
the
back or you don't
like
or
the
what you
the
do.
two
But
the 2020 AFC Championship game. I mean, it was far obvious from the start of the game that the Chiefs were the better team. Like, there's no question there. Buffalo made it, so, like, Buffalo made it there to the AFC
right.
Championship game. So, like, all good. Then, you know, then they, can't avenge themselves in Kansas City in the wild shootout 42-36, where all you had to do was play defense for 13 more seconds, Buffalo. Just 13 seconds. That's it.
Right.
That's all you
I just kick
fools
a
had to
quick
do.
kick, but
Yeah,
anyway.
that's all you incompetent fools had to do. Yeah, exactly. Why did you have a squid kick? Exactly. Like,
Unbelievable.
even I'm angry at your incompetence for that. And this is
Hmm.
me. I'm a Patriots fan. Even I'm incompetence at how stupid you. Like, even I'm angry at how incompetent you people were in that moment. Like, and
Anyway,
then let's see. They last year we all know
Titans.
what happened. Yeah. And then now this time, this is their fourth failure. Nah, I'd say third failure in a row, because them getting to the AFC Championship a few years ago, I would not call that a failure. Like, anything less than the AFC Championship is a failure. Especially 3 separate times now. You've shown that with the same core, with the same nucleus, you haven't been able to get it done. So, oh, you know what? That'll get interesting with this free agent class. What if Buffalo opens up the wallet? I'm just speculating. They signed some guy named Mike Evans. Then they also paid big money to Devin White. We'll see what happens. I mean, or even just one of those two. I mean, I'd argue that Buffalo needed Mike Evans a lot more. Well, would need Mike Evans a lot more than Devin White because, well, then again, Devin White was one of the linebackers who just made Mahomes look like trash in the Super Bowl when it was Bucks Chiefs. So let's see where you prioritize Buffalo, but it's either you make a splash play for you to cash your chips in at the casino and go all in for one last game, or you'll blow it up. And I'm tempted to believe that Buffalo will refuse to blow it up. So I think they will push themselves to whatever they can get for one last Super Bowl ride, if they can.
I like that. I mean, I feel like it's there. Like, they just have to get past this.
Now the question is,
somehow, you know what I mean?
Now I want to throw this question out. I think I know this one's fairly obvious. Which 4 year streak of losing is more painful for Bills fans? 4 years in a row where they lost the Super Bowls, or the 4 years in a row of this?
I don't know. That's a tough one, actually.
I wouldn't, because here's the thing. At least you could say your team made it to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row.
I know.
Not many teams can say that.
Yeah.
Not many teams can. I mean,
I don't even
we
like
made it to. We
made
it to the Super Bowl 3 times in a row.
Right.
We could have made it 5 in a row if we didn't lose to the Denver Broncos in the 2016 AFC Championship game.
Right.
So we nearly made it happen. But I mean,
anyway,
obviously the Super Bowl losses are torture. But the fact that this core within 4 years hasn't even reached a Super Bowl, that's also torture. And how long it takes to find you a diamond in the rough, like how long it takes you to build a good team. Like, good football teams aren't made overnight. So, let's see where Buffalo goes from here.
Yeah. Let's see. I guess before we sign off, let's get to the picks for next weekend's games, conference championships, and we already talked about the matchups a little bit, but I guess we can talk about them more as we explain our picks. But
see, I'll take San Francisco +6, and I will take the Ravens +4.
+4. Okay. So that means they'll win by more than 6.
In a surprise twist, I anticipate the Ravens Chiefs being a fairly low scoring game. I'm gonna say that right now. I'm probably gonna look like a complete buffoon by the end of the game for saying that, because knowing me, the game will be like 51-47. But I don't know. But I think I'm gonna say Justin Tucker. He's gonna be awfully clutch during this game. And you know what? I'm gonna put this out there. OBJ gets a touchdown.
Oh, let's go! I like that.
And
I'm gonna throw in OBJ.
I mean, maybe I'm saying this too because I still love like pretty much all former Patriots. I'm gonna say Kyle Van Noy gets a strip sack.
I like that too. Yeah.
San Francisco, Detroit. Yeah. So, let's see, San Francisco, Detroit. I'm gonna say the Lions jump out ahead at first, and just like last week, where San Francisco was playing catch up against the Packers, and then the 49ers slowly start chipping away more and more. The game will be tied by the third quarter. Then it will slowly turn into an offensive shootout, touchdown for touchdown for touchdown for touchdown, and then San Francisco gets a game-winning touchdown, and then the Lions have one last breath, but they fall just short. I'm sorry, Detroit. I have to go with San Francisco on this one.
I know they're too much of a juggernaut on both sides of the ball. Yeah, so that's interesting. Lions, Niners more high scoring. Chiefs, Ravens more low scoring. Yeah. I guess I'll go Ravens over Chiefs, but I think the Chiefs will keep it close. It's gonna be a good matchup for sure. I think the Chiefs really are finding kind of their magic. They won in Buffalo. Not a lot of people probably thought they could do that, especially this year where
I
they've
mean,
been having all
listen,
their.
I picked Buffalo to win last week, but I'm not saying the Chiefs definitely didn't have the ability to win last week.
Yeah,
But
no, you're right. I mean, not that like people thought they'd be blown out, but I think people thought the Chiefs could. I mean, the Bills could win at home. I even kind of was like thinking they might be able to as well, and but it was a good game. But I mean,
did the Chiefs
despite
even
all the
punt?
Chiefs, wait,
Did
what?
Kansas City even punt during the entire
Uh,
game?
I don't think so. The
Yeah,
Bills only
because
punted twice, and I don't think the
Buffalo
Chiefs
punted
did at all.
twice.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like this Ravens team is kind of like a different beast. They've been head and shoulders above the Niners, the Dolphins, the Texans. I mean, the Lions. Like they've played a lot of playoff teams and blown them out. They're not going to blow out the Chiefs. Chiefs are definitely going to be in the game. But I mean, the Ravens. I mean, they're locked and loaded on offense, on defense. They have weapons all over the place on the ground through the air, and that defense is suffocating. I mean, they're going to make it tough. Lamar Jackson's playing great football. I think the Ravens hang in there at home. They win a close fought game, maybe by like a touchdown, or could be
Again,
even less than that, honestly. But
again,
one score game,
yeah,
and
again,
then
for
yeah,
this game, I don't have any rooting interest because likewise, I hate both teams.
mm,
I mean, of course, I still remember like the Patriots Ravens rivalry from a decade ago.
oh
Still,
wow, yeah, that was
still
a while
part of
ago. Yeah,
yeah.
and then as for the Lions, 49ers, ooh, man, yeah, I feel like the Lions are gonna keep it close, especially in the first half, even low in the second. But I feel like Niners are gonna kind of, take over in the second half. McCaffrey, Debo. Well, yeah, maybe even Debo Samuel if he gets some. They're gonna get going at some point, and I feel like that defense is also gonna be a bit much at home, feeding off the home crowd energy. They're gonna get home on Jared Goff, and they're probably gonna win maybe like 7 to 10 points or something around that score line. But it's gonna be a couple of close games. But I feel like the Chiefs, the Ravens beat the Chiefs. I think in a closer game, the Niners end up pulling away from the Lions just a little bit and win at home, and then we get Ravens Niners in the Super Bowl, which kind of matches up with the logos, and if you've heard that theory. So, but I mean,
Oh
I
yeah,
really do feel like those two are the best teams in the NFL, and then I feel like we could get a more competitive matchup than the one we had on Christmas Day. So, yeah, I mean that's pretty much my picks. All right, well, yeah, so we both made our picks, and that's going to be another episode of Sports Vibe. So, we'll see you, after the conference championships, of course, to discuss those and preview the Super Bowl as we're starting to come towards the end of this football season. So we will see you next week.